instead of selling that investment, you could just get the cash flow from it, set it all up so it's running on autopilot. It's a money printer. It's printing big.
What do we know about money printers, boys? Go on, son. Press the button.
Three, two, one.
So today we're talking about compound interest, and when we first kind of learned about compound interest, just the idea of it, we were thinking back to the basic maths principle we learned in high school and how you dot a little point and continue to dot the points, and it turns out to be this big curve. But as you learn more about it, you realize that it's incredibly powerful. There's a lot of depth to it. And I think we're going to highlight how compound interest is powerful. Let's get into it.
Yeah, it is pretty weird. Like, we went to school for like 12 years, roughly. We learnt maths like every single week.
Yeah.
But this, it actually still blew our minds.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely. We learned this after high school.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's insane.
But like when you go to school and you learn about it, they don't really apply it to money.
Yeah.
They just apply it to other things.
Yeah.
So whenever you're trying to apply something that's like not linear to money, it doesn't make sense to us.
Yeah.
It also comes into like that abundance mindset, thinking bigger. It caps us from thinking bigger because we don't think we can actually make that kind of money. But if you actually stick to it, like even if you're doing something simple as like investing in the S&P 500, making 10%, she adds up over time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And like time with multiplying your money, that's where you get the biggest gains with the compound.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's weird as well, like thinking about how come they didn't relate it to money? Everyone would have paid way more attention.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Are there any, as a little bit off topic, just a small one, are there any lessons that they actually taught you about money in school?
Not really, man. Not
I
much
did
for me.
accounting. The only thing I learned about money in accounting was literally just forming a balance sheet. Like what is an asset and what is a liability? And then the net is what you're worth. That's literally it. That's all what I learned.
Yeah.
I didn't learn about compound interest. I didn't learn about taxes. I didn't learn about investing, none of that stuff.
But even then, it wasn't applying it to your own finances.
No,
it was applying it to
someone
like,
else's.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
an example or something.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I wish one of them just said like later how we always say like, if you can do like 20% returns, these are the results and they're life changing the results. And this is what you want to strive for. Then it literally like pumps you up.
Yeah. The idea of returns even. Like, I think the only thing they give you in school is like, you go to school, then you get a job. They don't, tell you that there's ways to put your money into things that can grow and give you returns.
Yeah.
That shit doesn't exist.
Yeah, Dylan, you're going to get into it soon, but the fact that one-time investment of $10,000 can become $91 million in 50 years just from 20% return each year is insane to me.
Oh.
Yeah.
It still blows my mind.
Yeah.
That's
It's
crazy.
funny as well. Like we get a lot of comments on our shorts. There's been so many saying like, but you have $10,000. How am I supposed to get my hands on $10,000? Like they look at it like it's big. It's like you focus on the wrong thing. Focus on the 91 million. Look at all of that upside.
Yeah.
It's literally like almost $91 million practically of profit. 10 grand as a percentage is nothing.
If someone was to tell you in 50 years you can have 91 million, how eager would you be to get your hands on that 10K?
Oh yeah.
You would do whatever it takes to get your hands on that 10K.
Absolutely.
Yeah. If you do a budget right now, I bet that you're spending 10,000 on something like menial, like that like every year. That's not even like that big.
Yeah.
So you could easily. It's just a mindset shift.
Yeah.
100%. She's only 10K. Not to be rude, but
Small. It's very small.
Yeah.
Boys.
Probably just to add on to like what you're saying, G. When I first joined Hardcore Headstart, and this was like I was still in uni at this time, probably like maybe like last 2 years of my uni degree, and my big dream was to just get an engineering job that pays like $80,000 a year, and I didn't know that I could multiply my money. So I didn't know about compound interest, right? Exactly. So I thought for me to get to $1 million, I had to work for like 12 years. And just save up my $80,000 for 12 years. And at the time, I didn't even know about tax. I didn't even know how much tax I had to pay. I didn't realize the debt, the HEX debt that I had to pay back. So I'm not even getting $80,000 a year.
Absolutely.
So if I'm just like thinking about it just like adding on instead of multiplying my money, it's probably going to take me a whole lifetime if I don't invest it. And then when you told me like, think of a big number for you by the time you're ready to retire or in like 50 years time.
Yeah.
I thought $5 million because I was like linearly adding. It was like, if I just get promotions, I get higher salary. Now I'm just going to add that on. So I thought it was possible to do 5 million, but then you're like, now 10x it.
Yeah.
So now it's 50 million. I'm like, how the hell can I get 50 million?
Yeah.
And that comes from compound interest.
Yeah.
So it really seems like the big thing that we're like really touching on with compound interest is, yeah, it's about the mathematics, but it's actually like a mindset, shift to understand how this game of multiplication, it's percentages, it's multiplying, it's not adding. How does that actually work?
Yeah, absolutely.
Or talking about that $10,000 lump sum investment, it's a mindset shift. Like that's a small amount of money. You got to start thinking like that.
Yeah.
And I always say, like, when I help, people that are in engineering and all of that stuff as well, to like get them on board, I always say like, hey, you do mathematics with your job and all of that every day. You're way smarter than me, but just bear with me for a second to understand this. Let's go through it really slowly so you can really absorb it into your soul and feel what it's actually about. So I reckon we'll start going through some numbers.
Let's do it, boys.
So what we're going to be talking about is like, how does percentages, like your ROI percentage, are you making 1%, 2%, 10%, 20% returns on your investment? What does that actually do to your results over 50 years? So if you go really, really small, like a 1% return on $10,000 for 50 years, it's only $16,000. So it like doesn't even like double your money. It's
seems very unimpressive.
Yeah, it's nothing.
No word.
Then if you were to go, we'll chuck this on the screen, like follow along, but I do want to go slowly so like you can really feel it. 2% goes to 26,000. All right, there's an extra 10K there. 3% goes to 43. 4% goes to 71. And now we're kind of at a weird place around this 4% area because that's kind of like historically where inflation's at. So if you're not beating like this 3 or 4% mark, you're actually not really making money, because money in the future is actually worth less. As the banks across the world, they keep printing more money, that makes it less rare. When something is less rare, it's, less valuable. So now after 4%, that's when we start actually making something. Our money is becoming more powerful. So 5%, it turns into 114,000. 6%, 184. 7%, 294. 8%, it's almost 500,000, 469. 9%, 743. Now 10%, this is like where the S&P 500's at, and a lot of investments. People like to target around this 10% mark, and, it's for a good reason. 10%, you make 1.1 million. It's quite, and I like this number as well. So like you're thinking, every time you can find an investment that makes you 10%, you've got $1 million there. You've got $1 million. So 10 grand is actually $1 million. 11%, 1.8, 12%, 2.8. So now we're, getting into those levels of you are outperforming the market average of the S&P 500. 13% goes to 4.5 mil. Starting to really escalate and really look at, between these numbers, what is the jump? You can see the jump becomes exponential, larger and larger between each number. 13%, 4.5, 14, 7 mil. 15%, 10 mil. So now it's a 10x of the 10% returns. 16% is 16 million. I like this number as well because it's like for each percent that you got is another million. 16% is 16 million. Really try and feel these numbers. And, like you might even want to pause and like just look at them and stare at these numbers because they start like not even making sense. 17% is 25 mil. 18% is 39 million. 19% is 59 million. And if you can get the 20%, and you can do more, right? But we just want to think big. But if you can get the 20%, like G was saying before, and we have said many times before, turns into 91 million. So
that is mad. Like 1% difference from 19 to 20. That's 40, almost 40 mil difference.
Yeah. What's going on there?
What is going on? So that's the hard thing to wrap your head around with compound interest. 1%, like compounded over a long period of time, just a difference of 1% makes 40 mil difference.
Yeah, that's insane.
Roughly at 30 mil.
Yeah.
Oh, was it 50?
59.
59.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Roughly like
30
30
mil difference.
Yeah.
Still,
It's heaps.
That's insane.
still massive.
Percentages, 1%.
Yeah.
So that's the power of the percentage. That's how like strong it is.
Yeah.
And, you know, I just really hate the mindset. Like so many people, they're just really negative, like, you know, looking at just 10% and saying, oh, but that's, you know, you can't beat the S&P 500 and all of this stuff. Well, fine, you can join it and it's still pretty damn good.
Yeah.
1.1 million. But I always love to put a positive, you know, little twist on it. Think about what you could do. And another thing is like, look at all the wealthiest billionaires in the world. None of them get 10% returns. They all beat 10%. You know, I can't wait until we go into other podcasts as well. We're going to talk about how to beat that 10%. So yeah, I can't wait for that. Next up, let's talk about how time affects the returns based on 20% ROI. So how does the length of time affect the returns? And we're talking about the 20%. So we'll start from the top. We just said 50 years, if you can get 20%, turns to 91 million. Now let's say you only wait 40 years. That would drop to 14.6 million. So you've lost a big chunk there.
Wow.
But 14.6 million, it's a lot, you know. It's a crazy number. 30 years is 2.3 million. Shrunk again by a lot. 20 years, shrunk even more to 383. You know, we're getting to really small numbers now. 10 years is only 61K. And 5 years, you just like practically double your money. You got 24K. So, you know, those are the numbers. Like, that's why.
It's like you get paid for waiting.
Yeah, paid for being patient.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So another thing that's great to touch on is the earlier you invest, the better for you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You need that long runway.
Yeah.
40, 50 year runway. Yeah.
Yeah. That's why we talk about it all the time. Like, that's one of our core messages at Hardcore Headstart. Hey, start young so you can actually get the head start.
Yeah.
Work
absolutely.
hardcore so you can get a lot of $10,000 in.
Yeah.
Heaps of them.
Well, that's with this example. We're only talking about $10,000. That's it.
Mm.
For
Yeah.
one-off lump sum of $10,000.
So I got a question for you boys now. Let's say we learnt this exact information. We learnt this, let's say in year 9, right? In high school. What is the first thing you guys are going to do after learning something like this?
Well, you go straight to work. You think I'm going to sit there? A teacher's going to be like, please do your math homework. I've got 91 mil sitting there for me. Off, mate. I'm going and work, man. Sack this shit off. I'm going.
Because like when you apply those numbers to money, it pumps you up,
Yeah.
you know? Because if I learned that in school, I'm just like, bro, I am like, thank you for the information. I'm bouncing. Like I'm literally getting to work straight away.
Literally to the point of school is to educate you so you can get a job to make money.
Mm-hmm.
So you're telling me I don't have to go through all this bullshit to get the same goal as what you're trying to achieve, and I can just do it this way by just getting a normal job. What am I doing here, boys? What am I doing here? You know, it should not make sense.
Yeah.
But that's all right. Maybe another conversation for another day. But yeah, I think people just expand your horizons.
Yeah.
And to the people who are saying, oh, like are literally thinking in their heads right now that 20% is not possible. Getting more than $10,000 is not possible. It literally is just knowledge that you're
We
missing.
actually talked about exactly how you can turn $10,000 into 91 mil in the previous episode. So episode 31, we talk about the strategies that is possible, and we'll cover it again in future episodes in more detail.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But if you want to know what strategy to use, go check out episode 31.
So really recap, so I guess the two major principles we've just been speaking about is the percentage that you're getting on your money. That's really important compound interest. The higher the percentage you can get is based on the amount of knowledge that you have. So increase your knowledge. That's how you're going to get a better percentage. Second of all is the amount of time that you're invested.
Yeah.
You know, dollar figure is great. Work hard, get as much in as possible, but the amount of time is more important. The amount of time you're invested is more important.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you want to start. That's why we say at Hardcore, you know, our favorite demographic to work with is those 18-year-olds to like 22. We love working with them because we can help them the most just based on math.
Yeah.
You know, so if you're in that demographic, get cracking, boys.
You guys have the biggest asset of all time, and that's time.
Mm.
Time is your biggest asset. So you got to use that wisely.
Yeah, that's it. Just for a little bit of homework for you guys, I highly recommend, this podcast is not enough. Get the calculator, go Google it, and then just mess around with it as much as possible. Lump sum amount, how much your dollar cost averaging in, putting in regular deposits every week, fortnight, a month. Figure out those percentages, and do the time, and then really feel, and you can put in your current scenario, compare that to if you really worked hardcore, what would happen next? Chuck it all in there.
Just remembered something from the original 3-day Hardcore Headstart course that you taught us was when showing us these compound interest numbers, you told us to imagine the life that we want in the future. Like the horizon expanded, think big life that you want. You want a yacht, all right? You want this big golf house, whatever you want. Think of that kind of thing and then work out how much money is necessary to actually live that kind of life. And then you can see, due to the compound interest calculator, how much work is necessary, how much you have to deposit, what kind of interest rate you need, and how much time you need. And you're going to work out real quick. You need a lot of time. You need a good compounding interest rate. You need to invest a lot.
Yeah.
That's it. Another little bit of homework as well is do this all with like the 10% as well. So you have like a gauge to go off of.
Yeah.
Mess in how, like if you start with larger lump sums and dollar cost averaging with the 10% and change the time as well. Because like sometimes what you can figure out with the S&P 500, it's really great and all, but to actually really start moving the needle, if you want to have a good life when you're 30, you will have to put in a lot of money because that 10% is like, it's not that actually that big. All right. And then I think another thing is as well, here's like a realistic scenario that you can think about. So like what you could do, and people talk about, it's not realistic for you to find an investment that makes 20% for the long term. All right, that's fine. But think about this. What about if you saved up $100,000 from your job? We've done it before from our standard jobs, nothing special. We didn't, do anything crazy. It wasn't a really high 6-figure salary. It was just a normal salary. Save up $100,000, invest it, and find like an active investment, if you want, where you're like working in it and you found like a unique opportunity that's actually not on the stock market.
You're talking about a business now.
Yeah, like a business. But I like to say investment first, because I feel like when you say business too much, then it makes you feel like I'm just buying myself a job. Okay. I really believe like the goal of a business is to make it into an investment where you just set everything up, turn it into autopilot, look for the opportunities, how that business can grow throughout the future, and think of it that way. Because at the end of the day, it's the same thing.
Makes more
sense. A business, a company, it's all the same thing. And you can find ways to really compound at 50% over like 10 years. If you think about in terms of a restaurant, all right, that's like half a restaurant in the first year. Is that realistic? It is. So these, if you do compound 50%, it's very doable. If you do this for 10 years with an active investment, your 100K will turn to 13 million. Now with that 13 million, you can think about selling that active investment you've got. Because you do have to worry about it because it's active. And you can just park that money into something like the S&P 500. And if you're just getting 10% off the 13 mil, you got more than $1 million coming in pretty much every single year.
You're sweet, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another little nuance, what you could do is instead of selling that investment, you could just get the cash flow from it, set it all up so it's running on autopilot. It's a money printer. It's printing big.
What do we know about money printers, boys? Go on, son. Press the button.
That's literally the compound effect right there. If you listen, replay that. It started soft and she started compounding, man.
Replay that.
Go back and replay it. You will feel it.
Compound interest summed up in 5 seconds for you.
Dude, turn your volume up. Get that shit shaking.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But with the active investment.
You're having a seizure at the end there, man. That was amazing.
Yeah. With a lot of like startup companies and stuff like that, like active investments, it could be anything. It doesn't have to be a startup. But a lot of the big guys, like the VCs, they want to see you compounding at like 100%. You know, so it is doable.
Yeah.
You can't do 100% forever, but you can do it for the first 10 years, you know?
So this active investment, would you recommend doing it like after you've built up something more passive, like the S&P 500?
Yeah, do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Funnel in,
To
have
avoid
that
like risk.
100,000.
Like you don't want to jump into the active straight away.
Nah,
Yeah,
and you want to
that's
be
a good point.
during that time as well, you know, as you're funneling in, you're doing more research. You're choosing that harder path that we spoke about.
Yeah.
You can beat the S&P.
Yeah.
And you might have some specific knowledge from your job or the books you're reading, the YouTube channels you're watching, the podcasts.
Yeah.
You can apply that to something.
So there's a lot of self-awareness there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It has to be a high probability of working as well.
Mm.
Like it can't be some bullshit dropshipping thing.
Yeah.
Like it has to be a proper,
Mm.
investment
Yeah.
that you're moving this money into.
Mm. And yeah, then you just got money coming out. Just keep funneling that into other investments, S&P 500 or something similar, other index funds. You secure your whole life.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, you just really need to know you have the knowledge, you have, your confidence. Be honest with yourself. Do you actually believe it's a reality that you can do it? Then have a crack. I think maybe another little story is if you look at like people like on social media and stuff, if you're talking about the names like Logan Paul and all of these guys that are blowing up on social media,
Mm.
do you think they're growing at 10%? Do you think they're, if they're,
Hell no.
if all their followers, look at them, like I see it all the time. Someone hits 100K and then within the year they get a 10X to $1 million.
Yeah.
That means
Mr.
all of
Beast.
their money would have gone, it would go up like, 10 times. The amount of merch they're selling, 10X.
Mm.
Absolutely.
So yeah, so I think it also relates to what is it, Naval Ravikant, How to Get Rich, when you want to find that leverage. How can you multiply your gains? I think that's pretty much
Pretty
everything
good,
for
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
We
Really
all
key
response.
few things to focus on there. Did anyone else have anything before we sign off?
We're going to do like more podcasts on compound interest
Yeah.
in the future as well. But this is like a great introduction into like,
Mm.
what is compound interest? How does it work? Like, why it's
With it
actually
in
important for
mind.
you.
Maybe actually a little point is like, if you are starting like an active investment, you got to be thinking, can I compound this?
Mm.
Yeah.
Not can I do one of it?
Yeah.
I want to be able to do 10 of it or
Mm.
20 of it, grow it.
Mm.
It can't be like a short-term game and that's
Yeah.
it.
And this podcast, and just like our other podcasts as well, this one, they're really hard hitters. So you want to make sure you like rewatch it, like
Especially
watch it
when
once.
when you're doing your
But
cash printer.
because it can change your life. Like once you understand these concepts, they can change your life.
Absolutely.
So you want to make sure you go to sleep, think about what we said, and rewatch it again.
That's it, boys.
That's it, boys.
All right. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share this with your friends because it is damn well important, as G was just saying. So let's pack her up.
Pack it up.
Pack her up.
Thank you for listening.
Wow, that was very normal.
Still, boys.